Good morning, my fellow international relations student. Good morning, Sir Farid. Thank you for your time. My name is Alfa Kadui and I'm here with my teammates.
My name is Marlinda Carvalho de Costa Geronimo.
My name is Nur Makfira.
Hello, my name is Claudia Herminia Pereira Reis Carvalho.
Hello sir, my name is Samuel.
In this occasion, we are going to tell you about the country risk report of Venezuela. This presentation will be divided into the six sections. In the first section, we will provide you with country profile of Venezuela. In the second section, we will analyze the social and welfare dimension of Venezuela. And in the third section, we are going to explain about the macroeconomics of Venezuela. Meanwhile, in the fourth section, we are going to explain about the governance and transparency of Venezuela. And in the fifth section, we are going to elaborate about the political condition in Venezuela. And in this last section, we are going to conclude whether we should invest in Venezuela or not. Now we proceed to our first section, which is the country profile of Venezuela. So Venezuela used to be colonized by Spain in the 16th century. But in the beginning of the 19th century, Venezuela is the first country in South America region who declared their independence. The Venezuela system is Federal Presidential Republic that consists of 23 states. So basically, Venezuela is a sovereign state in the northern coast of South America that consists of landmass and few small islands and islands in the Caribbean Sea. Venezuela occupied more than 900,000 kilometer areas in the South America continent. Venezuela current population is more than 28 millions of people. Venezuela has extremely high biodiversity, and Venezuela even entered the list of nations with the most number of species. Not only rich of its biodiversity, but also of its oil. The oil in Venezuela was discovered in the early 20th century, and today Venezuela has the world's largest known oil reserves in the world. And Venezuela also has been the world's leading exporters of oil. Not only that, Venezuela is also the 8th largest natural gas reserve. So that is the country profile of Venezuela. And in the next section, our group will elaborate about the social and welfare dimension in Venezuela that will be delivered by Marlinda.
Hello, my name is Claudia Carvalho. Here I will present about the population of Venezuela, GDP of Venezuela, and healthcare in Venezuela. The first is population of Venezuela. The current population of Venezuela is 28,456,212 as of Sunday, March 29, 2020, based on the World Weather elaboration of the latest United Nations. Situated on the northern coast of South America, Venezuela, or to give it its official title, the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, is one of the largest countries on the continent. It is also the 50th largest country in the world in terms of the population, with an estimated 2020 population of 28.44 million. And the last official census took place in the country in 2011, when it was estimated the population of Venezuela was 23,054,985. So if you trust the letter set of the figure, it will suggest that the Venezuela population in 2012 was nearing the 27.5 million marks and that by 2020 it is 28.44 million, is to be 10.000% in December 2020, has reported by International Monetary Fund World Economic Outlook. It records an increase from the last reported number of 35.000% in December 2019. And looking ahead, Venezuela real GDP groups it projected to stand at 5.000% in December 2021. The data is updated early and is categorized in CEIC under work to push country forecast. Venezuela nominal GDP per capita. Venezuela nominal GDP per capita is forecast to be 2,427,502 US dollar in December 2020, as reported by the International Monetary Fund World Economic Outlook. It recorded a decrease from the last reported number of 2,547,761 US dollar in the December 2019. And
next is healthcare in Venezuela. Venezuela making access to healthcare as the priority. The current situation in Venezuela is extremely terrible. Some areas are experiencing limited access to healthcare, water, sanitation, and hygiene services, and the population is being exposed to a disconcerting degree of violence. The ICRC has intensified this humanitarian work in the country by running more healthcare activity in response to the population's most urgent need. ICRC in Venezuela works to assist the people affected by the emergencies. It helps the most vulnerable, namely the teenagers and the sick and injuring immigrants and their family, and attack to the help those separate from their family due to immigrant or violence.
okay, so now let's talk about the poverty in Venezuela. First one, we will talk about the factors that lead to the poverty in Venezuela. As you can see from the slide, it's already mentioned 3 points there, which is the first one is about political instability, the corrupt government, and also the economic collapse. As we all know that now Venezuela is in a chaos. Why is that so? Because there are two different leaders, which is Maduro and Guaido. They are fighting each other to gain power there, to become the president of Venezuela. Then from the political instability, it creates chaos there. There are also violation of human rights that happen there, and then it leads to the corrupt government there, which is also again leads to the economic collapse. Then from all those things that happen, and the chaos that happen, it creates a shortage of food and medicine there. The unemployment rate is becoming high there, and also most of the population decided to leave the country. They immigrate to the neighboring countries. So that's the factors that lead to the poverty in Venezuela. The second one, as you can see from the slide, it's already of a graphic there which shows about the poverty rate in Venezuela. Unfortunately, the slides, the graphic only contains the poverty rate until 2015 because of the political instability that's happened in Venezuela. They didn't upgrade the data of the poverty right there. But from the news that we can see in IMF and other news, we can see that it is nearly 90% of populations living in poverty in Venezuela due to this political instability, the corrupt government, and the chaos that's happening there. So this is about the poverty in Venezuela. So consider all those things that happening in Venezuela, which leads to the poverty. If investors or businessmen decided to invest there, it could become a threat for their investments because of this chaos that's happening and leads to the poverty. Then the purchasing power of the population might increase, or we can see that it's increasing because of the poverty that's happening. So if the investor decided to invest there, it could become a threat for their business. So this is about the poverty in Venezuela.
Let's talk about the life expectancy years in Venezuela again. So in this slide, we can see that the life expectancy in Venezuela, according to the graphic that is you can see from the PowerPoint, it shows that the life expectancy of Venezuela is increasing, but it's not that significant. It is only around 0.6% according to this graphic. So, and we can see from the graphic, it shows that the life expectancy or years in Venezuela is about 72.21, which is not good, meaning that it is not good for the investor or investment if they want to invest there. So the investor should think twice before invest there because of this life expectancy or years of Venezuela, which is not really good. So now let's talk about the quality of infrastructure in Venezuela. As you can see from the slide, it's already we already include the graphic there. You can see how the quality of infrastructure, the quality of overall infrastructure, the quality of the roads, railroads infrastructure, and so on so far. So we can see it's not really bad from the infrastructure rate that it's written on the graphics there, but if we compare to the other countries or from worldwide comparisons, the country is ranked on 134, which is considered that this is not a really good for a country or for a businessman to invest there. It's not really good. Again, this is also relates to the political instability and poverty that is happening in Venezuela. So the investors and the businessmen should think twice again, consider the quality of infrastructure and the chaos that's happening in Venezuela. Now let's talk about the income per capita. So in the income per capita of Venezuela, if we see the data according to the IMF, it shows that the country's rank is on 139, which is not good also, because as we can see from 2018 and 19 the data, we can see there it shows that the income per capita of Venezuela is decreasing, which is from 3,410 in 2018 decreased to 2,547 in 2019. It shows that the quality of life there is not very good, and then the rate of dependency in Venezuela is not really it might be high because of this income per capita that is increasing. So this is about income per capita in Venezuela. So again, the income per capita is decreasing. So this is also could be another threat for businessmen or investors if they want to invest in Venezuela.
Let's talk about the other indicators, which is about the basic environmental indicators. In this basic environmental indicators, we're going to talk about the natural resources endowment of Venezuela. So Venezuela, even though the country is in chaos, but if we see from the natural resources that the country has, it could be considered as a country that rich because of its natural resources that the country has. You can see from this graphic that we show, the table that already in the PowerPoint, you can see from the first one, the blue one, we can see that there are many natural resources the country has, and it's contributed to the GDP of the country itself. But even though the country is rich of the resources and including the oils, the country's dependency to oils is around 98%, which means that the GDP of the country depends on the oil export, meaning that the income of the country depends on the oil. So it is good. Is it good for the investor or not? The answer is no. Why is that so? Because if the country depends more on the oils, it could be a threat. Why it could be a threat? Because if we see the price of the oil could be dropped. So if the price of the oil drop, then the income of the country might be decreasing. If decreasing, meaning that the income per capita of the country also decreasing. If it's decreasing, then the processing power also decreasing because it only depends on the oil. So if the price of the oil is to drop, then the country cannot get income from other sector. So it could be a threat for the investors if they want to invest in the country. So again, the investors should think twice regarding this. Consider this natural resource endowment of Venezuela if they want to invest in Venezuela.
And here I would like to explain you about the macroeconomics report from Venezuela when a person or an institution wants to invest in Venezuela. So there are 5 indicators that I will describe and explain in these sessions. First, there are tax policy, inflation rate, the economic growth, the export and import in Venezuela, and the last is the employment rate in Venezuela. So first, I'm going to describe about the tax policy and in Venezuela. So in here I already become 2 subjects. There are non-residents and residents. So for non-residents or foreign residents who are staying in Venezuela, they are required to pay tax around 34% from their salary or their other income. This is for the policy that is made by the government of Venezuela for the foreign residents who are staying in the Venezuela itself. And then second is for the residents. For Venezuelan residents, they also have the same. They also get the same rules or the same policy from the government, which is 34% from their salary or other income need to pay the tax to the governments. But for them who already live outside the country for 183 days and above, they can stop from paying their tax to the government of Venezuela by showing the evidence that is issued by the corresponding tax authorities from the country that they are the tax residents in other country where they live. So meaning the residents who are stay in other country for about 183 days, they can stop paying their tax to the Venezuelan government, but they need to show the evidence first. So then the government of Venezuela can give something like freedom for them of paying the tax to Venezuela itself. And second, next to this, we're going to the next slides is the inflation rate. In this section, it can be explained that the inflation rate in Venezuela has an average around 3,742.55% from the year of 1973 to 2019, as shown in the data specifically. So, in the data shows also that Venezuela have reached the highest inflation rate in February 2019, which was around 344,509.50%. This is the highest inflation rate that happened in Venezuela on the month of February 2019. And also, on the other hand, Venezuela also had reached the lowest inflation rate on February 1973, as the data showed in the PowerPoint. It reached at 3.22%. So the lowest inflation rate in Venezuela is 3.22% in that country. And then we're going to the next slide is economic growth. In here, the economic growth in Venezuela has decreased by 26.8% from a year to year. It shows that the lowest point at the first quarter of 2019, and also there are subsequent contractions of 20.2% from the last period according to the data. It was the sharpest contraction in 1998 due to the decline in the oil sector and the non-oil sector, which has experienced a very large shrinkage. And also, for the annual economic growth in Venezuela, it's around 1.62% from 1998 to 27, and it keeps on declining as the data showed. For the highest economic growth in Venezuela, it shows in the first quarter of 2004, it reached to 36 and 10 0.10%. So that is the highest point of Venezuela it shows the highest point of economic growth in Venezuela. And also for the lowest fall for the economic growth in Venezuela, it shows at the number of minus 26.70% in the first quarter of 23. So there is the situations, the economic growth situations in Venezuela from 1998 to 2019, as the report already tell us before now. And then proceed to the next slides is export and import in Venezuela. First, I'm going to explain about the export first. For the export first in Venezuela. For the export rate in Venezuela, it shows around 11,127.28 million US dollar from 1992 to 2019, and it shows in the data. So this is the average that the average of the export in Venezuela that they already reach, yeah. So the annual from the period of 1992 to 2019, and then Venezuela also ever reached the highest rate in export around 314,568 million US dollar, which was in the third quarter of 2008. And also Venezuela also have reached the lowest rate of export around 2,995 million US dollar in the first quarter of 1992. So this is the report of export in Venezuela. And then we go to the next slides is import in Venezuela. So import sector in Venezuela, it shows that the average of the import is 6,579.49 million US dollar. So this is the average of import in Venezuela. And also the highest level of import in Venezuela, it reached around 90,338 million US dollar in the fourth quarter of 2012. And also the data shows that the lowest rate of import in Venezuela, it was at 1,970 million US dollar in the third quarter of 1994. So this is the report from 1992 to 2019 about the import in Venezuela. And then we going to the next slide is the employment in Venezuela. For the employment in Venezuela, it has the average around 89.88% from the 1990s to 2018. So Venezuela also had reached the highest point in employment around 94.47% on December of 2014, as the data shows in the PowerPoint. And also the lowest employment rate in Venezuela was 79.30% on February 2003. And also in the data shows that in the end of 2019 on the month of December, the employment of Venezuela has increased to 93.65% from the level of employment on November 2018, which was 92.66%. So during the end of the year in 2018, the employment of Venezuela is increasing. Before in 2018, but before the last, under 2018, the Venezuela the employment is still low, but as following following year, the employment in Venezuela is keep on increasing. So for the employment in Venezuela until 2018, they are increasing and feels very like have the good situations in that country for the employment.
Now we are going to discuss about the governance transparency in Venezuela. In this section, there is 6 indicators that include in governance transparency, such as corruption in Venezuela, quality of bureaucracy, human rights violation, freedom of expression, political discrimination, and governance fraud. So in corruption, you can see that Venezuela score is 16 out of 100 on the 2019 Corruption Perception Index. This Corruption Perception Index ranks countries and territories based on how corrupt their public sector is perceived to be. A country or territory's scores indicates the perceived level of public sector corruption on a scale of 0, that means the countries or territories is highly corrupt, to 100, that means the countries or territory is very clean from corrupt. This can also be proven by corruption practice in Venezuela escalated last year that reached the 5th place for the first time, which was including the Somalia, South Sudan, Syria, and Yemen. Corruption is becoming increasingly common in Venezuela along with the Nicolas Maduro regime effort to strengthen the country's totalitarian control, removing the check and balance system installed during the democratic years. The next is quality of bureaucracy in Venezuela. In Venezuela, bureaucrats are a special phenomenon and dominate in governance, institutions, several trade unions, the Venezuela Socialist Unity Party or PSUV, retain the quality life of the individual people, the development of participatory and popular force. The bureaucracy in Venezuela is basically a layer, or some people will argue a class of people who hinder productivity and efficiency and have a virtual monopoly in decision making. For the quality of bureaucracy, as you can see, the Venezuela have experienced an average annual growth rate of minus 4.68% for the period 2008 to 2017. So it can be said the governance bureaucracy in Venezuela is very ineffective. Next is human rights violation. According to United Nations Human Rights Report, the Maduro regime was reported involved in arbitrary detention and physical abuse, as well as operations to silence dissent and enforce social control. A series of laws, policies, and practices limit the democratic space, dismantle institutional checks and balance, and allow patterns of serious violations. Not only that, Maduro has increasingly relied on the Special Action Force of the National Police of FAES that he created in 2019 to carry out illegal raids and extrajudicial killings. The FAES comprised of the 1,300 officers stands accused of killing more than 100 people in low-income neighborhood in June until December 2018. For freedom of expression in President Nicolas Maduro's era, the government has expanded and abused its power to regulate the media and has worked aggressively to reduce the number of media outlets with differing opinions. That means the government can suspend and or revoke concession to the private media if it is convenient for the interest of the nation, arbitrarily suspending websites for vaguely determined incitement violation and criminalizing the expression of disrespect of high-ranking governance officials. The various media were blocked on platforms such as YouTube and Google, while user access to Facebook was disjointed. Also, at the different times, it's not possible to access new portal via the internet. Next is political discrimination, where the people that supported the referendum on the presidency of Chavez and Maduro has been fired from government jobs. A government program that distributes food and basic necessities at price limited by the government has been accused of discriminating against government criticism. If you see the graphic of Venezuela presidential election, the majority of Venezuela's political opposition decided not to participate, given the invalidity of the presidential election, while some players in the international committee, such as Latin America countries gathered in Group 5, the United States, the European Union, and the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights, denounced the presidential election as cheating and fraud. The last is government's fraud, whereas President Nicolas Maduro obsessed to maintain his position as the president of Venezuela. He did everything just to ensure that his position will not be taken by someone else. The political ambition of Nicolas Maduro became clear in December 2015 when the party that opposed his presidency, Democratic Unity Roundtable or MUD, won a two-thirds majority in National Assembly. In March 2016, the Supreme Court suspended the National Assembly, and in July 2017, Maduro established an institution body called the National Constituent Assembly, which have the power to rewrite Venezuela Constitution and essentially replace the National Assembly. Maduro fills the position of National Constituent Assembly for people who are loyal to him, which made no opposition for his rule.
So my previous teammates already explained to the audience about the social and welfare dimension in Venezuela, macroeconomics of Venezuela, and governance in Venezuela. And now it's my turn to explain to you guys about the political condition in Venezuela and what are the political risks that currently happening in Venezuela that should be considered before lends money to Venezuela or invest in Venezuela. In this section, the presenter will divide the section into two sections. In the first section, the presenter will explain about the political risks that caused by internal factors, and in the second section, the presenter will explain about the political risks that caused by external factor. Okay, let's begin with the internal factor. There are 7 indicators that the presenter will explain in this section, which are radical regime change, economic crisis, mismanagement of economy due to particular ideology, widespread of corruption, disharmony between government and its citizen, the rise of nationalism that repudiates foreign debt, and criminal rights as well. Without any further ado, the presenter will proceed to the first indicator, which is the regime change. So you might be wondering, what is radical regime change? So basically, radical regime change is the replacement of current government regime with another regime. The new regime change and replace everything in the previous regime, ideologically, administrative, and bureaucracy as well. As we know that Venezuela used to be a democratic country that uphold the principles of democracy. It once allowed its citizens to pour their opinion and criticize the government freely. Venezuela's democratic system, once praised by the world, even the United States of America, praised the democratic system of Venezuela. But after Hugo Chavez elected as the president of Venezuela, he changed all what the previous regime have did before. The principle of democracy is not practiced anymore. Venezuela tend to be more authoritarian than a democratic country under the last 2 president administration, which are Hugo Chavez administration and the Nicolas Maduro administration. Nicolas Maduro also obsessed in maintaining its power as a president of Venezuela. Maduro is reported unfair in the last Venezuela's presidential election. Nicolas Maduro considered as unfair in the last presidential election of Venezuela because it is reported that Nicolas Maduro commands its staff to toss its political opponents in prison. The government of Venezuela also arrests more than 40 people in a month. These people are the people who demonstrate and openly criticize its government in the street. Under the Nicolas Maduro administration, Venezuela has violated the freedom of expression, and many countries have criticized the behavior of Venezuela because of its human rights violation. Therefore, the investor needs to consider the radical regime change in Venezuela, because now the regime condition in Venezuela is not stable. There are two presidents at the same time that made citizens of Venezuela split into groups. The first group is the one who supported the Nicolas Maduro as the president. On the other hand, the second group is the one who support Juan Guaido as the president of Venezuela. So the second indicator is economic crisis. So you might be wondering why economic crisis is a part of political risk that caused by internal factors, right? So according to the book by Ronald Solberg, it is stated that the economic crisis is a part of political risk as well, because the crisis is happened due to the instability of government system and domestic turmoil. Venezuela's experienced economic crisis due to the instability of the system, the non-transparent government, and also sanctions from other states as well. Venezuela's GDP has experienced recession since 2014, and it still continues to decrease. Venezuela's GDP fallen more than 35% in less than 10 years. The decrease of Venezuela's GDP is faster than during the Great Depression of the United States of America. Of course, this recession created hyperinflation, extreme poverty, hunger, unemployment, scarcity, emigration of its citizens to another state. Some of Venezuela's citizens decided to leave its own country instead of stay and experience the mess in Venezuela. The domestic turmoil that currently happening in Venezuela right now, making the crisis worse than before. Therefore, the investor really needs to consider the economic crisis and recession that currently happening in Venezuela due to domestic turmoil in Venezuela before they invest in Venezuela. Now we're going to talk about the mismanagement due to particular ideology that happened in Venezuela. As I have mentioned before, that after Hugo Chavez elected as a president of Venezuela, it all changes. The domestic policy in Venezuela is more into authoritarian state, socialist state, than a democratic state. The government even made several policies to pamper its citizens. The government utilized its money to fund several programs to facilitate its citizen and subsidize everything to its citizen. This is rarely happened in democratic liberal countries. Venezuela's new policy is more like socialist state that uphold the justice for the working class. So, of course, this program by Venezuelan government to subsidize and facilitate its citizen needs a huge amount of money to execute this program well. Unfortunately, the government of Venezuela did not think this program wisely and did not think the negative impact to its economy. This program mismanaged by the government, and therefore the lender or the investor needs to consider wisely before lends its money to Venezuela, because you need to consider whether the government of Venezuela will manage the money well or not. If the money mismanaged by the government of Venezuela again, it will lead to the inability of Venezuela to pay for its debts. Now we proceed to the next indicator, which is the widespread of corruption in Venezuela. So I have mentioned before that Venezuela's government mismanaged its program and money as well. So not only mismanaged the budget of the program, but Venezuela's government also proved has utilized the money to enrich themselves. The poll that was conducted by Gallup in 2014 found that 75% of Venezuelan citizens believed that corruption was widespread throughout the Venezuela's government. Venezuela even entered the list of the world's top 5 most corrupt countries in the world because of its government. Therefore, the lender needs to be careful when they want to lend money to Venezuela. The lender needs to make sure if the government utilizes the money well for the development of Venezuela or just to enrich themselves. Because if the government corrupts the money, it will lead to the inability of Venezuela to pay for its debt. It's time to talk about the disharmony between the government and the citizen. So, the condition in Venezuela is in a big chaos. Almost every day, people gather together and demonstrate the government. why they do the demonstration? It is because they oppose the idea of government and oppose the policy that had been made by the government. But the government did not want to listen to its citizens. The government violated human rights oftenly by arresting people who is trying to speak up and demonstrate in the street. So therefore, there are a huge amount of Venezuelan people who already lost its trust to their government, and it leads to the disharmony between the government and its citizen. Why the investor or the lender needs to consider about the disharmony between the government and its citizen. Why? Because this disharmony could lead to a big chaos that could disadvantage the investor or the lender as well. Now we're gonna talk about the rise of nationalism that repudiates foreign company and foreign debt. So after Hugo Chavez elected as a president of Venezuela, he changes everything, right? As I have mentioned before. He began to promote Bolivarianism, which is a socialist and national patriotic against imperialism, and promote economic self-sufficiency. So you might be wondering, what is economic self-sufficiency? So it's basically a system where a particular country believes that they could fulfill its needs without any help from other state. Hugo Chavez also nationalized several industries like the oil industry. Because Venezuela under the Hugo Chavez administration and Nicolas Maduro administration implemented Bolivarianism and protectionism, it made the foreign companies hard to establish business in Venezuela. So therefore, the investor or the lender needs to consider the rise of nationalism in Venezuela that repudiates foreign company and foreign business. Now we're going to talk about the criminal rates in Venezuela. So according to the data by Overseas Security Advisory Council, it is stated that Venezuela remained one of the deadliest and the most violent countries in the world in 2018. Not only that, Venezuela is currently the highest murder rates in the world. Based on the data by Venezuelan Violence Observatory or OVV, the murder rates in 2016 is extremely high. There are 65 people out of 100,000 people murdered in Venezuela every day. Not only the murder rates, but the kidnapping rate in Venezuela is also very high. In the latest data showed by CIPC, it is showed that there are hundreds of kidnapping cases that happened in Venezuela in a month. So, not only kidnapping and murder, drug trafficking, human trafficking, and also human slaves also happened in Venezuela. So I have mentioned about the 7 indicator of political risk that caused by internal factors in Venezuela. And now let us jump to the next agenda, which is the political risk that caused by external factors. So in this section, there is only one indicator, which is international sanction. Yes, many countries in this world have implemented sanction to Venezuela. Why they implement sanction to Venezuela? It is because of Venezuela's human rights violation. As I have mentioned before, that after Hugo Chavez elected as a president, the Venezuela is changed and began to be more authoritarian than democratic country, and oftenly violated the human rights. Those countries who have implemented sanctions to Venezuela hoped that its sanction will make Venezuela realize that what they are doing right now is wrong. The sanction of that state also made the Venezuela's condition becoming worse than before, because many of these sanctions are economic sanctions that eventually made the economic condition of Venezuela becoming worse than before. Not only because of the human rights violation, but several people also believes that the main reason why those countries implemented sanctions to Venezuela because they have their own national interest. So as we know that Venezuela is the largest oil, have the largest oil reserves, and Unfortunately, after Hugo Chavez elected as president, he nationalized the oil industry and also several industry in Venezuela, and it made the other countries harder to cooperate with Venezuela's oil industry. And also, not only that, Hugo Chavez also promoted the Bolivarianism, who believes in economic self-sufficiency. Because of this Bolivarianism, it is hard for other states to cooperate with Venezuela to gain its national interests. Not only economic sanctions, but these countries also openly shows its support towards Juan Guaido, who is the political opposition of Nicolas Maduro. Several people believes that the sanction by many countries aims to make the condition in Venezuela worse than before and eventually will make Maduro resign in his office as the president of Venezuela and will be replaced by Juan Guaido. Because if Juan Guaido becomes the president of Venezuela, it will be more easier for these countries to cooperate with Venezuela's oil industry because there will be no Bolivarianism again. Considering the country risk analysis that have been mentioned by me and my teammates before, the presenter of the presentation have found the conclusion and decide to not lend money or invest money to Venezuela, because we could clearly see from the social and welfare dimension, it is clearly showed that the people of Venezuela is suffering and currently living under fear because of its government. The infrastructure and healthcare in Venezuela is horrifying as well. And not only the infrastructure on the healthcare, but the education is really terrible as well. And not only from its social and welfare dimension, but also from its macroeconomics policy. It is stated that the non-resident of Venezuela needs to pay 34% of its income to the Venezuela's government. This is a huge amount of tax. It means that if we establish a business in Venezuela, we need to pay 34% of our income to the government of Venezuela. This is really a huge amount of money. And not only the macroeconomic policy by Venezuela, but also the hyperinflation and the economics of Venezuela is not growing, but decreasing as time goes by. This could be a big threat to investors. Not only that, the governance also is not in a good condition. There are widespread of corruption, human rights violations, and government's fraud as well. The political system in Venezuela also in a big chaos because of radical regime change, mismanagement of economy, disharmony between its government and its citizen, and even Venezuela is currently in sanction by many international community because of its state's behavior that promoted Bolivarianism and its human rights violation in the past few years. Therefore, the presenter have decided would not want to take a risk at all to invest in Venezuela during this period of time. The presenter considered that investment to Venezuela would not be beneficial for the business due to the chaos that happened there. Not only that, the presenter also concluded that if Venezuela would not be able to pay for its debt due to the economic crisis and terrible condition that currently happen in Venezuela.